He is New Mexico head coach Jason Eck, coming off of a signature win in year one at UCLA. I'm John Brice of FootballScoop.com, and this is the Our Coaching Network podcast. Coach, you could be visiting with a lot of people this week after a win like that. For some reason, you're gracing us with your presence here on the pod. We really appreciate it. Congratulations on the win.
Thanks, John. I appreciate all that you do covering the sport and specifically covering coaches. So happy to give back and spend some time with you.
Yeah, you're very kind. You're our first two-time guest, which probably speaks to the fact that you just keep winning big ball games. But you were not surprised that your team went and took care of business at UCLA over the weekend. A signature win, a dominant win. What did you see out of your team, not just the week leading into the game, but the weeks and months leading into the game since you took over this program that let you know New Mexico could go make that kind of statement?
Well, I think we were really starting from scratch in a lot of ways. We have about 75 new players that weren't on the team last year. And we really preach that, things across your life carry over, meaning that, how you're achieving, off the field is often tied to how you're achieving on the field. And I thought we had a good sign of the players buying into that. We set the school record for the highest GPA in a semester last spring. So I thought that probably gave me a little canary in the coal mine that, yeah, guys are buying into that. They're doing what we're asking of them. And then, you never really know. I think when you have a new team and, football is so hard to judge in training camp just because if the one offense has a good day, you're not sure if that's because the one offense is good or the one defense is bad. So I think we learned a lot that first game. And I think we built some belief, even though we came up short against Michigan, 34-17. But I thought we showed a lot of resolve and battled and responded to adversity, responded to getting down, 17-0 early and kept fighting all the way through. And I think that helped build some belief and confidence that carried over and helped us against UCLA.
What's the secret? Almost 75 new players is 5 years ago. You would have thought it was a new program with 75 new players. Today, it's not commonplace, but it's happening. I think North Carolina maybe has 73, and Deion Sanders a couple of years ago at Colorado had 84. But for 75 new players, and in your third game to get that kind of a win, what have you done? And your coaching staff, you got a really good coaching staff. Love your DC. What have you done to help expedite the chemistry process that you have to have? Guys have to like one another when there's that many newcomers.
Well, I think it does start with the staff. I think we have a staff that has really good chemistry. And, I tell our staff, you don't get any, contract extensions or raises for winning, spring ball or fall camp. No one's ever gotten that in coaching. We got to make sure that we're all working together towards a common goal and that we're in this together and improving. And then, we really spend a lot of time working on relationships. We have non-football meetings on a weekly basis where we split the team up into small groups. So they're with different position coaches, different players, and really try to have a cross section of, seniors with freshmen, with, black guys, with white guys, with Polynesian guys, with Hispanic guy, a great just mix of everything, guys from cities with guys from smaller towns, and just talk, just work on getting to know each other. When we do introductions all the time. We did it, to start the spring, we did it to start the summer, we do it, to start the fall, and, just spend a lot of time learning about each other. Cause I think the more you care about each other and you know that you have some shared ground, even if it's not readily apparent, the more able you're to overcome adversity and, do some things that are hard.
A small group component is fascinating. It's one thing to have guys, offensive linemen, meet with running backs or something like that, but that's very unique. Is that something you generated yourself? Is it something you picked up from somewhere? And did you do it at your previous stop? And what all are the benefits both on and especially off the field?
Well, I think it's like a lot of things in coaching. I kind of took it from somebody, then tweaked it. But Coach Stiglmeyer, who have a lot of love and respect for, he was one of my greatest mentors. I spent 6 years with him as an assistant right before he became a head coach. He had us do weekly non-football meetings with our position group, where we would meet with I was the O-line coach, meet with the O-lineman and talk about things that weren't football related. Check in how their life's doing, school, family, and I saw that there were certainly great benefits of that. Well, when I became a head coach, I thought, what would even be better is if it's not just me as a position coach doing it with my position. It's going to be great if we do it across the team. And I think there's a ton of added bonuses. I think it helps, at levels I've been at where with FCS and group of five, where you're going to want to have your coaches move up and have opportunities, and you want to help them reach their dreams just like your players. It helps the players get to know other position coaches so that hopefully they don't ever feel like, well, if this coach gets a job in the Big Ten and leaves, well, there's nobody on staff I can talk to and trust. Now hopefully there's a lot of the assistant coaches they've generated bonds with, and it really helps just getting out of the comfort zone, because you're going to count. And we started two true freshmen last week against UCLA in the Rose Bowl, and getting those freshmen caught up and earning the trust of the upperclassmen and getting to know them, I think is huge. So I credit Coach Stiglmeyer for the initial idea, but then I think it's even been more powerful as we've gone across position groups and across different coaches.
I want to jump back a little bit to bringing in 75 new guys and take me through the logistics of that, if you don't mind. Again, as we visit with Jason Eck, first-year coach, New Mexico, coming off a emphatic, dominant 35-10 win in the Rose Bowl. Not just a great moment for you, a signature moment for New Mexico football, but 75 newcomers is unheard of. And it was a program that went 5-7 a year ago too. So you didn't walk into a garage with a Rolls Royce parked there. So how do you go about 75 new players on a roster?
It was a journey, and I give credit to our staff. We had some of the initial guys who came with me right from Idaho who got here really just a few days after my press conference and got rolling, and had one recruiting weekend before Christmas. And then I had more of the whole staff, completed later then into January, and we were grinding. And, we kind of had a model. We've gotten a few players, such as our tight end who's off to a great start, Dorian Thomas, who was a guy from a power program who hadn't played a lot and was looking for opportunity. But we really thought we found more value in getting guys from smaller programs who are good players. We have a lot of really good FCS players. Our top two running backs are FCS guys. We're starting in the O-line, our center and our left guard are both FCS transfers. So we found a lot of guys like that who have proven themselves and were good players. When you lose so many guys, we lost about 40 players in the transfer portal from last year. The only way at our level to get experience is really that you can afford is to go, to lower levels. So we certainly were able to add some experience with all those new players and some really good football players that are really excited to be here. And we're excited to prove themselves on the Power Four stage in the Rose Bowl.
You referenced Idaho. You punched above your weight at Idaho, and you played a great brand of football there. You coached a great brand of football there. Now you're bringing that to a G5 program in New Mexico. You're a blue collar guy, former offensive lineman at Wisconsin. Kind of maybe how much pride do you take in those moments where you get to show, hey, there's good ball all over college football, all over America, and you can have a P4 designation or you can have an FCS designation, but you're going to coach up ball players and you're going to strap it up and play anybody anywhere.
Yeah, interesting, John. My career, started, as a player and as a graduate assistant at the Power Four level. And then, I had, when I was younger, I had some, group of five O-line jobs when Idaho was it was before they called it group of five, but when Idaho was in FBS and then at Ball State. But I really think I learned a lot about myself as a coach and really grew in my Division II days, coaching at Winona State and coaching at Minnesota Mankato. And I think that's really where you kind of cut your teeth and really learn and grow. And I've always had a great, appreciation. I know there's a lot of great ball coaches at the Division II and FCS level, and more guys are getting some opportunities now to move up. And I always root for those guys. But those games are always fun when you get to play teams from bigger classifications. And we were able to beat Wyoming and Nevada when I was at Idaho, and now we've beaten UCLA here. And I think those games have always been thrills that exciting for our players, exciting for our coaches. And I think we've done a good job of viewing those games. It's just great opportunities. They're games where you have really nothing to lose and everything to gain. And we went around that and attacked it. And sometimes we came up short, like, against Michigan this year, against Oregon last year at Idaho, we lost 24-14, but I think we've always gone and competed and fought our tails off.
Yeah, along those lines, you talk about it, nothing to lose, everything to gain, but still you're playing in the Rose Bowl. You're going into the Rose Bowl, which is an iconic venue. in college football. What was the mindset or the mood of your team? Did you sense they were loose and going to go play their best brand of football, or what was your message to them pregame and at halftime and then after the game, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, going into the game all week, we talked about going in there confident, focusing on us, focusing on playing our best football. I knew we had to make an improvement as a team from how we played in the first 2 weeks to beat them, but certainly thought we were capable of that. And really just said I want to focus on playing with great effort this game, outplaying them with our effort, and then we had to out execute. We got to play better, assignment sound football, and I think for the most part we did that. And then, at halftime we were up, 14-7, but you kind of felt like we should have been up more. We got stopped, inside the 5 yard line where we could have taken a 2 touchdown lead. We helped them on their 1 touchdown drive. We'd had a 15 yard penalty that helped them out. So my message was just, hey, believe and do what you're doing, and let's take control of this half. And then, after the game was just how proud of him I was, and it was kind of a great week because having a bye week the next week, we weren't in a hurry to get back, so we went and a lot of us probably won't be back in the Rose Bowl again. You never know. So we got out there and took some great pictures as a team, and let guys have a lot of time to spend time with their families. I've never been so happy to land at the airport at 4 a.m. It made it worth it.
Did you have some fans out there waiting on you, or what was
we had a good bit of fans. You know how
That's
it is
what
sometimes.
thought,
I think a lot of the UCLA fans took off near the end of the game as it was getting kind of ugly. But we had a good swatch in the corner of New Mexico fans, and they're always waving Lobo flags and waving state of New Mexico flags. I think there's a great pride in the state of being from New Mexico, and again, I think that's one of my biggest jobs is try to make give the people of New Mexico something they can be proud of.
What have you done along those lines as we visit with Jason Eck, first year coach at New Mexico after rebuilding Idaho? John Brice here of FootballScoop.com on the Our Coaching Network podcast. What have you done around the state of New Mexico, maybe to help that buy-in in your program, especially again, as noted, it was 5-7 a year ago. There's been transition there through the years, but you come as a proven program builder.
Yeah, we haven't had a winning season or a bowl season since 2016, so we're overdue for that. But I think what I really learned at Idaho, I learned a lot. That my first opportunity to be a head coach. I think it's twofold. One, I think you have to win to kind of build your fan base and get them excited. But I think you also got to connect, with the community. I think it's good when they see you as a part of the community when you're out at other events. You're seeing them at their events, personally inviting, you're supporting them at their events, personally inviting them to come support us and come to our games. I think it's tough if you just kind of stay in your office all the time and then ask everyone to come out and support you, and you're never out doing that. But I think we built some great, great inroads with the community, with the campus. I know we helped out with freshman move-in day with the team this year, and I got a lot of great feedback on that amongst the campus community. So just things where our players are felt like a part of this community, and hopefully the fans feel like they're a part of it. And I do think fans and boosters, they're probably as influential as they've ever been, in college athletics. They've always been influential, but probably even more so now with rev share. So we got to get all the different groups that are behind the scenes all supporting us, and I'm hoping for a great crowd here now coming back to play our arch rival, New Mexico State. It's the Athletic ranked at one of the top 100 rivalries in college football, and this is kind of a special one. There hasn't been great football tradition in New Mexico. This will be the first time in 33 years that New Mexico and New Mexico State have played where they both have a winning record coming up a week from Saturday. So this is going to be a big game in the land of enchantment.
That's pretty awesome. Leads me into my next question as well. You're coming off such a monumental win. You're less than 72 hours removed from it as you visit with us. Again, we're very grateful for that. Good thing you have a bye week this week, or after a win like that, you rather get back out on the field and just try to harness that momentum as much as possible.
I don't mind having a bye week. I do think sometimes those can be tough. You can have a little hangover from those games. We'll be out in the practice field for the first time here in a couple hours, and I think we'll learn a little about our team, just how well we respond. And sometimes it's human nature if everyone's patting you in the back and tell you how great you are to relax. And certainly, I told this team after the game and in our team meeting, we're in a great conference. Our conference had the CFP representative last year. we're going to play better teams. UCLA is not going to be like the best team we play compared to teams in the conference. There might be 4 teams we play, throughout the year that are better than them. So we got to keep growing as a team, continuing to get better. And I think that's, our key to winning this game was we got better through each week of the season. And now we got to, even during this bye week, we got to improve a lot.
I know you're just now getting back out to the practice field, as you said, later today here on Tuesday afternoon. But you're good in your messaging and you're consistent in your messaging. You were that way at Idaho. And so I wonder, do you sense that your team is absorbing that message, that they've bought into the fact that, like, hey, we played 3 games. That's a quarter of our season. We didn't peak last week at UCLA.
No, I think our team is doing a great job of listening. I think they're doing a great job of buying into our plan. And, it's always tough because, I think sometimes young people are kind of, prove it to me or show me, they want evidence behind it. But I feel now we got some evidence, and I think they're trusting the plan more than ever of how we go about our business. And, I'm excited. Again, I think that'd be a heck of a thing for our program to get back to going to bowl games. And we got a bowl game that's right in our home stadium. So I know they would love to have us and host us here at the New Mexico Bowl, probably help their ticket sales and things. So it's going to be a journey. We got a very tough conference schedule. We play the top, the top 3 teams in our conference were picked by the preseason poll. We all play on the road this year with Boise State, UNLV, and San Jose State. But again, we'll just look at those as great opportunities to go take those teams on.
I didn't send you any notes before this interview, but you're better at this than I am because you just guided me into my next question. And that was going to be, when you have a win like that, I call them ahead of the curve wins. But when you have a win like you just had at UCLA in the Rose Bowl, what's the immediate right now benefit? What's the big picture, longer term benefit that maybe you're already starting to hear from recruits or hear from players or see an uptick in ticket sales or booster engagement, things like that?
Yeah, we have a great administrative team. Fernando Lovo, he's already got the board up with ticket sales for the New Mexico State game and trying to get that to be as good as it can be, whether it's 30,000, whether it's a sellout. And I definitely think our community is very excited. They were even excited that we just played Michigan tough. I think they were. That's how downtrodden we were. I had told our local media I'd never received so many congratulations over losing by 17 points, which I didn't think was a great feat. But they're very excited. Recruiting has an uptick. We've had at least one guy who told us no in the summer and committed somewhere else, who called us up after this weekend and said, "Hey, coach, would you still consider having a spot for me?" And so certainly we respect the people who've been with us, from day one. But the bandwagon is open. We want to keep getting more fans in here and embracing this city, Albuquerque. There's over about the metro area is like almost 900,000 people around here. Right. So I think there's plenty to sell out a 37,000 seat stadium and things. So we'll keep growing this thing. I think we're on the right track, and we just got to keep our foot in the gas pedal.
And Albuquerque's beautiful too. I haven't spent a lot of time there, but I've been through there a couple of times. You got a lot to sell there. That's for sure. I referenced earlier your coaching staff and specifically your DC, Spence Nowinski. If I'm not mistaken, this is a reunion of you guys. You were first year coaches together, maybe in '99 at Wisconsin.
We were, Spence is a little older than me. He was a high school coach for a few years, and then he came back, and we were graduate assistants together at Wisconsin, and just such a great coach, so knowledgeable, so demanding. You look at his background. I mean, I think he's been involved in a couple of these games where he's really shut down a Power 4 team. I know when he was at Ohio University, they beat Iowa State like 10-7 or something like that. So he's done an outstanding job. The offensive coordinator, Luke Sleisner, has been with me a long time. We were assistants together at South Dakota State, and then he was my coordinator at Idaho. And he's continued to be creative and do great things. He's probably the smartest guy I've ever coached with. Daniel DePrado, our special teams coordinator, does a great job. He came over from Texas State. Our O-line coach and D-line coach have been doing a great job. But, I thought we really won the line of scrimmage, which is tough to do when you play a Power 4 team. Coach Booth and Coach Fangupo. So I think I have a heck of a staff. I'm blessed. I think we got the best staff in the group of 5. And now, as the struggle, just like your players, it's tough to keep your players and coaches in this era. But, hey, we're going to do a great job, and we'll worry about that when the season gets over.
You've got some really bright young analysts too, with Behrens and Nardo, and I think Cook. I'm not saying it because you're visiting with us. I've studied your staff. I really like the makeup of your staff. One more on Spence. Had it been a goal for you for a long time to reunite with him? Did you know, like when you made that FBS jump and you made it in such a short amount of time from being an FCS coach, but you turned around Idaho so quickly. Did you know he was going to be an early call for you?
Yeah, we had talked a lot over the years. He was at Illinois State as the DC when I was at South Dakota State. They beat us one year. We were 7-1 and would have won the conference outright, but we ended up tying with North Dakota State because they beat us at their place. So he's been a guy for a lot of years. I talked to him when I first got the Idaho job, but couldn't get him for what we were paying and things. And then Dan Jackson really did a great job for us last year at Idaho. So he came down here initially as my DC. And then about a week later, he got the South Dakota State head job. But right when Dan left, Spence was my first call, and I was happy to get that worked out to get him to come down here, and he's done a tremendous job.
Don't want to abuse your kindness with your time, so just a couple more here, and we'll wrap it up again as we visit with Jason Eck, first-year New Mexico head coach. On the Our Coaching Network podcast, I'm John Brice of FootballScoop.com. Okay, it's a bye week. You're getting back out onto the practice field Tuesday. Kind of take me through your schedule this week, and then you get to Saturday off. You don't get many of those off at all in the year. Will you watch other opponents? Your wife is one of my favorite follows on Twitter because she's Kimberly Eck, because she's so incredibly supportive of all you do. So will you be smart enough to have a date night with her, or how does this work?
I got this whole week planned out pretty good. We're practicing early today on Tuesday. We're just going in helmets and spiders because then I'm going to sneak out. My 14-year-old son is the starting quarterback for the freshman team at La Cueva High School here. So I'm going to go watch his game today. I've caught the end of some of his games. This will be the first time watching a whole game. Then we'll practice some shells on Wednesday, full pads on Thursday, scrimmage our young guys a little bit on Thursday, our scout team guys. I think one coach has to leave and miss Thursday's practice to go recruit. I think we'll have 11 guys out on Friday recruiting. I'm driving down to southern New Mexico to see a game, so I'm going to explore a little bit of the state I haven't seen. But then I'll be, hightailing it back to see my 10-year-old son play Saturday morning. He's got I think 11 a.m. game. We're gonna have date night Thursday with my wife, so that Saturday we can hang out and watch games with the kids. So that was kind of next level. I said, let's not wait till Saturday for a date night. We're gonna do date night Thursday. Take her out to one of the great restaurants in Albuquerque, and then Saturday, hang out around the house. I think my college sons are going to come back too, and have some good food, watch some games, and enjoy, and then back to work Sunday to get ready for the Aggies.
No surprise at all. You've got an elite game plan for the bye week and taking care of date night. Last one here. You're 2-1 on the season. What do you like about your team? Where do you feel your identity is, and what's the next step?
I think we're tough. I think we're a tough team. I think we can respond, to adversity. I think we're competitive. I think we've, hung our hat in the last couple of weeks, really running the ball well. We didn't run the ball great against Michigan, but we've done a nice job the past 2 weeks doing that. I think we're doing a great job up front with our D line playing really hard. And, I think if you can get good play out of the trenches and quarterback, usually you can figure out the other stuff. So hopefully that can be a trend going here over the course of the year. We got to keep getting our passing game a little bit better. We got to keep creating a few more turnovers on defense, be a little bit more consistent on special teams, but really like where our team's at right now. We just got to continue to have urgency to keep improving.
All right. Once again, Jason Eck, New Mexico head coach, cannot thank you enough for visiting with us, especially on the heels of that victory. 3 consecutive years, you took Idaho to the postseason. You're 2-1 at New Mexico here early in the season. You might be taking the Lobos to the postseason for the first time in almost a decade. Coach, as always, I got to learn from you today. I got to appreciate this visit with you. Thanks for your time.
Hey, appreciate you, John.
Absolutely. All right. Once again, for Jason Eck, I'm John Brice of FootballScoop.com. This has been the Our Coaching Network podcast. Until the next one, enjoy this one.